All right, today we're going to break down the arguments from a pretty viral video that gets into why some Black voters are starting to rethink their political allegiances. It's a perspective that's definitely getting more and more attention, so we're going to unpack all the key themes they bring up. And let's start with this quote, because it really just sets the stage for the entire argument. It immediately reframes the whole issue not as one of racial betrayal, but of political alignment. It's a really powerful opening. So, first up, the video dives right into the intense social pressure. The speaker talks about how Black conservatives often get hit with this label of being sellouts just for breaking away from expected voting patterns. And this right here gets to the absolute core of the argument. It's all about a perceived shift in priorities. The claim in the source video is that the Democratic Party's platform has moved on, now prioritizing the interests of other groups over the interests of the Black community. You know, this naturally leads to a direct challenge of a very, very important term. The source video really pushes back on the whole idea that voting for one specific party automatically means you're pro-Black. And this slide lays it out perfectly. It really illustrates the heart of that redefinition. The video puts specific social policies it opposes on one side, and on the other, a much broader, more nationalistic goal. The whole point is to try and separate the idea of being pro-Black from any single party's platform. So to make this argument feel a little less abstract, the video zooms in on a personal story. It uses the story of a Black entrepreneur to show how this political divide can have some really tangible, real-world consequences. Yeah, the focus here shifts to economics. The video claims that just because of his conservative views and his support for Donald Trump, this guy Terrence Williams and his Black-owned business are getting attacked and boycotted by people within his own community. And wow, you can just feel the frustration in this quote from the man himself. The argument he's making is that this whole principle of support Black-owned businesses is only being applied selectively, based entirely on the owner's politics. He sees that as a huge hypocrisy. Okay, so after talking economics, the video makes a big pivot into history. It directly challenges what many consider the conventional narrative about the two major parties and their historical relationship with the Black community. This personal testimony is really used as a springboard. The speaker talks about being released from prison because of the First Step Act, which was signed into law by President Trump. And from there, the video launches into this broader re-examination of American political history from its point of view. So then, to build its case, the video lays out this series of historical claims. The argument is that, contrary to what most people believe, key moments in history actually show the Republican Party in a more positive light when it comes to civil rights, while pointing the finger at Democrats for some pretty negative events. And another piece of evidence the video brings up is the whole 40 acres and a mule promise. It uses this historical claim to argue that it was the Democratic Party that actually undid what could have been a foundational promise of economic empowerment for Black Americans. All right, so that brings us to the final theme in the video, and it's a more philosophical one. It's a critique of what it calls a mindset of dependency and victimhood, a mindset it claims is pushed by the political left. So, to make his point, the narrator actually plays this clip from another creator. He holds it up as a perfect example of a perspective that he fundamentally rejects. He says there's a hidden message in these words. So what's he getting at? What is that hidden message? Well, the video then deconstructs that statement, and it offers a totally different and, frankly, much more critical interpretation of what it actually implies. Basically, the narrator's take is that this kind of talk isn't empowering at all. He sees it as deeply demeaning. He argues that it frames the Black community as being weak and in constant need of government help, a view he totally rejects in favor of self-reliance. And this old proverb is pretty much presented as the core philosophy. The argument is that real empowerment doesn't come from government programs, which he sees as creating a cycle of dependency. Instead, it comes from fostering independence, building skills, and having a strong work ethic. And so, that brings us to the end of this breakdown. The video we looked at weaves together all these different threads, social, economic, historical, and philosophical, to make its case. It leaves us with a really provocative question. Could we be witnessing the start of a major political realignment, and what on earth might that signal about the future of political identity in America?